Alright, so as you can see over here, this is like I have prepared the Excel sheet, like the course details, the topics that we will be covering up in our class. Right. So as you can see that I have prepared the day-wise topics that we will be covering up in our class in the class that will take around 20 to 25, like 25 to 30 days it will take to cover all these topics. And it's not like that like the topics that I have mentioned on a particular day, it will take that particular time only. That is, I mean to say that if these topics are mentioned in the day two, then it's not compulsory that I'll be taking these topics on the day two. Like it all depends on your grabbing power, like how much time you take to understand the topics, right? So it might take 2 days also to cover these topics, or it might be covered in one day as well, right? So just don't get confused over there. All right, and then this is like these are all the topics that we will be taking up in the class, and we'll be discussing each and every topic in the class. And then I'll be giving you the exercises as well to do, so that you get hands on the particular topics. Okay, we have prepared the exercises as well, and we'll be sharing with you.
Okay.
Alright, and then like first of all, we will be starting with the basics of C sharp, the OOPS concepts. What are the OOPS concepts? Like, and then why am I focusing on OOPS concepts? Like, as I think you might also be knowing what is a class, what is an object, static, non-static, constructor, and all everything. But then I will also be taking the OOPS concepts. 2 days I'll take, because these are the topics where people generally go wrong. They think that they know the programming skills, but there are some concepts that they don't know. So like you have to cooperate with me. We will be taking the OOPS concepts. Only 2 days we'll take with the OOPS concepts, and then we'll move forward with the Selenium concepts. Okay, so like it is better for you as well. You will get hands on the OOPS concepts as well. What are the interfaces, static, non-static objects? Okay, and then why is this OOPS compulsory? You just let it know in just few seconds. Okay, and then after covering up with the basics of the C sharp, basics of the programming skills, we'll move towards the Selenium concepts. Like, how do you identify the objects in Selenium? How do you work with the Selenium? How do you configure the Selenium DLLs in your Visual Studio project, and how do you work with them? We'll just work with that. Okay, and then we'll be covering each and every topic: the pop-up handling, the drop-down handling, web tables, and all everything. And after we are done with the Selenium basics, after we know how to work with the Selenium, how to work with the objects, then we will build the framework in the class. Okay, and for that, for building the framework, we'll be using the NUnit framework. I'll be making use of the NUnit, with which we will be making the test cases and then implementing it. Okay, and then we'll also see how to work with the Excel files. How can you read and write the data from the Excel file, and how can you work with it? Alright, say suppose you don't want to hard code the data in your project. So like you want to read the data from the external file. So for that, we'll be making use of the Excel file. How do you work with the Excel file? We'll discuss that. And for that, in order to work with the Excel file, we'll be making use of the endpoint APIs. Right? Similar to the POI API in Java, we have endpoint API in .NET that we will be making use of in order to work with the Excel file. And then after discussing the like what is the role of NUnit in a framework, what are the basic annotations, assertions, how do you generate the reports, how do you parameterize your test cases, after you know the basics, like the basics of the NUnit framework, then after that the framework building will start. And then like we have three four frameworks with us: the keyword driven framework, data driven framework, page object model framework. So among these, we'll take any one framework in the class, and then we'll be implementing the whole project, the whole framework, and then we'll be working with that. All right. So any questions still here, like regarding the course details? Anything you want to ask, like the topics that we'll be taking up?
Okay. See, my question is, once this class is completed, what are the information you are given demo? It will be shared, right?
Yes, it will be shared with you, with all of you, which will be shared.
Okay, okay. So that I can do the practice in the same way
Yes,
itself
yes,
and like
yes, yes.
get it
I'll be
done.
sharing.
See,
Yeah, yeah.
mainly the OOPS concept is the main question, right? But yeah, I'm not aware anything on coding thing, but I'm working on the manual testing. Just because of
Okay,
I joined the course after OOPS concept clear understanding in the Selenium C. Just I
okay,
want to
okay.
clear
So
understanding
like
like
you
this.
want to do the OOPS concepts as well, the programming skills?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So like as you can see in the Excel sheet as well, we have the 2 days class with the OOPS concepts. I think these topics, and then like it's not like that that after like only the 2 days only will be taking up with the OOPS concepts. Like each and every day we'll be discussing the Selenium and the C sharp and the programming skills simultaneously. Like first I'll tell you the programming skills, what is the
Okay.
basic concept, and then we'll implement it with Selenium in our project.
Sure,
All
no
right.
problem.
Yeah. So like, and then anything you have any doubt, you can just ask me in the class as well. Anytime you can just ask me if you're
Sure,
not
no
clear
problem.
with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So anything else regarding the course details?
Whoa. Just okay. Makes sense. We will check once you send the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
We'll get tomorrow in the class. Tomorrow class.
Okay. No problem.
See,
Fine.
okay. Anyone
Yes.
is going to join and feature like 2 to 3 days, or only in the, one person? It is like
No, like it, like people will join the class. It's not like that. People will join.
okay, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So now, starting with the introduction part, like we'll just start with the class. Now, before actually starting with the class, like I'll tell you the introduction part, the history of Selenium. Let me just show you the questions which people frequently ask. Okay, let us discuss these. Now, the first question says that what all will be taught in the course. Like as we have seen, this is the checklist that I have prepared. The course details that we will be discussing in the class. All right, and then will I get access to the videos? Yes, you will surely get access to the videos as well. Like you will get the videos access also. And then do you record the current session? Yes, I am recording this session as well, and you will get the recorded classes as well. After the class, you'll get the access to these recorded sessions of the class as well. All right, so no need to worry for that. And then the next question is C sharp required if I don't know programming? Well, I would say yes. You must, you like, it's not like C sharp, you have to know the C sharp, but you must have you must have the knowledge of the basic programming skills. Like if you are aware of the programming concepts, then you can easily work with this course. Like I mean to say the basics of the programming, what are loops, arrays, if statement, how do you declare a variable, string variable, integer variable. Alright, so I mean to say that only. If you're aware of these programming skills, then you can easily go with this course. All right, and then like in C sharp nothing matter, like it's not like nothing, there is not much difference. It would only be the syntax that would be different with C sharp. The rest, the concepts remain same in all the programming languages, whether it is C sharp, whether it is Java, Python, Perl. The syntax would only differ, the logics would remain same in all the programming languages. All right. And then, if I need any help in my project, will you help? Yes, we will help you out in your project. We have a team, we have a support team over here who will help you out. You can anytime ping us, you can anytime mail us. We'll be helping you out in your project as well. All right. And then, what all do you cover? We have discussed this Excel sheet, this course details. These are the topics that we will be taking up in the class. And the duration of the class is like it is 6 weeks. It will take around 6 weeks, maximum 6 weeks it will take to cover all these topics that we have seen over here. Fine. And then could you also provide some kind of live project? Yes, will be like you have the access to all the videos that are there on the website seleniumtraining.com. You can get the projects from there as well. All right. All right. So any doubts still here? So we'll start.
No, no, it's okay. Proceed.
Okay. All right. And then please mute your microphone, Yuvraj.
Sure.
Creating disturbance. Yeah. Okay. Now, talking about the brief history of Selenium, that is, from where the Selenium evolved, how it evolved, and where it is going right now. Let's discuss that first and then we'll move forward. Okay, now if I talk about the history of Selenium, there are actually three components of Selenium. Three components of Selenium that come up originally, like initially, there are three components of Selenium those are, the first is RC, then we have IDE, and then we have the grid. These are the three components of Selenium that we have originally. Now, coming to these three concepts, these three components. What are these three components? Now, the first component is say IDE. We have IDE. Now, what is IDE? IDE is still used. If you are talking about IDE, it is a simple tool. All right, and then IDE, it only works on the Mozilla browser. It only works on the Firefox browser. It does not work on. Fine. Then IDE, it is a record and a run tool. It is a record and run tool. Now, what do I mean by record and run tool? As you all know that every automation tool has record and run features in it, which looks good, but it is not practical because dynamic things you cannot just record and run. For example, say if I take the example of timesofindia.com or any other website, bbc.com or cnn.com, any website if I take, every day we all know that the contents of the timesofindia.com website, it changes every day. It changes dynamically every second, right? Or you take any news website or any sports website, any website you take, we all know that these days websites are dynamic. So we cannot just record and run everything, right? So IDE, it is a record and run tool. And then moreover, with IDE, you cannot generate any reports. Reports are not generated with IDE. No doubt, IDE is a very simple tool. It is easy tool to learn, but there are some things that come up with IDE, right? So like if you will help you will be like there is IDE as well, and then if you have 1,000 test cases in your project, then you cannot just use IDE tool. But if you have a project of 2 to 3 pages, then you can simply work with IDE. Alright, and then there is no need of any programming language, no need to learn any programming language as well in order to learn IDE. Okay, so this is all about the IDE. So to remove all these defects which are there with IDE, to remove all these defects and to work on multiple browsers, we switch to the RC component. We have the RC, right? So now RC, it can work on multiple browsers. RC, it works on the multiple browsers, that is Chrome, Firefox, IE, Opera. It works on the multiple browsers, right? And moreover, with RC, you can generate the HTML or the Excel or the XLS reports as well. Alright, so with RC we can generate the reports, but with IDE we cannot do so. And then moreover with RC, like if you want to work with RC, you must have to learn any programming language. You must have the knowledge of programming language in order to work with the RC. The language can be anything. It can be either C Sharp, Java, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP, any language. But you must know the language. You must have the knowledge of language in order to work with RC. Alright. So this was a challenge for the testers as well in the learning of any programming language. Alright, and it's still a challenge as well. Now, with RC, there was one major drawback. The drawback was that, like for example, in RC there used to be a RC server which used to start from the command prompt. Now, many a times server never used to start or shut down properly. So you'll have to log off or log in again and again, log in into your machine again and again. So many things and many more things were there with RC with which we are not because of which we are not using RC these days. Alright, so there were many more things. Like we'll not go into deep with what all drawbacks we have in the RC. The major drawback being there used to be a separate server. There used to be a separate server in order to work with the RC, which used to be start or shut down again and again. Alright, so for that, like because of which the people couldn't do a lot of things. So because of which we are not working with RC these days. Okay, and then we'll not go into depth with what all drawbacks the RC had. All right, and then we have the grid. Now, what is a grid? Now, grid helps you to run the test cases parallelly. It helps in the parallel execution of the test cases. Right. Now, in the grid, what you have is like we in the grid we have there is one central machine, and to this central machine you will be connecting multiple machines to it, that is the multiple nodes to it. This central machine is known as the hub. Alright, so what we will do is we will set up a central hub in our project, and then over that central hub we'll be connecting multiple machines. Okay, that is, you can make a central hub and then you will distribute all your test cases among the multiple machines that you will be connecting to this central hub. Alright, so what happens, why we are doing all this stuff? What will happen is it will save your time. Right, so grid helps in the saving of your time to run your test cases parallelly. Simultaneously, you can run multiple test cases at one single go. Alright, so this is what is the grid. So IDE and grid is still there. They are still used, but RC we don't use it. Alright, and then like as we have discussed, we know what are the drawbacks of RC. In order to overcome those drawbacks, in order to overcome those drawbacks, another component came up in the market that is known as the WebDriver. WebDriver 2, and then nowadays, like now WebDriver 3 has also come up in the market. Alright, so you like with the WebDriver you can do the same things as we can do with the RC, like working with the multiple browsers. This WebDriver also work with the multiple browsers, right? And then reports are also generated with the WebDriver. Both the reports, HTML, XLS reports, and even the extent reports also you can generate with the WebDriver. Alright, so we'll be discussing all these reports as well in our class. Alright, and then yes, in order to work with the WebDriver as well, you must have the knowledge of any programming language. You must know the programming concepts as well. Alright, and then many more features we have with the WebDriver that we will come to know as we go with the class. Day by day, you will come to know various features of the WebDriver that we'll be taking up in the class, and various other advanced topics we have with the WebDriver. Alright, so WebDriver will be taking up in the class, which is a lot in demand as well in the current market. Alright, which is more famous than the RC. So WebDriver will be taking up in the class. Fine, and then IDE is still the same. There are no changes with IDE. It is still the same. Alright, so like people still use it, and if you have a project of 2 to 3 pages, as I told you, you can simply work with the IDE. Alright, and then grid has been changed to grid 2 and now grid 3 as well. Alright, so like grid, like it supports the WebDriver as well. Alright, that is the same features of the WebDriver also. The grid also supports, and then the parallel execution and all the features remain the same of the grid, but now the grid 2 and the grid 3, it supports the WebDriver as well. Alright, so this is all about the history of Selenium, like what is there in Selenium. Alright, the components of Selenium, like around which the Selenium revolves. This is all about the history of Selenium. Fine. So anything you want to ask? Any doubt?
You can proceed. So these are the history of the Selenium, right? ID, RC, grid.
Yes. These are the components of Selenium.
For this, anything like text notes will be shared with us. like to?
Uh, See, like, say, as I told you, we'll be working with the WebDriver only. WebDriver is only used in the current market. RC IDE will not be taking up, and then Grid we will be taking up, right?
Okay.
So WebDriver, like these, the course details that I have shared with you, these comes with the WebDriver only. So we'll be taking up these topics in the class, and then like there are no any hard coded like the what you can say the notes you are saying about it's only practical. Selenium is only practical,
Okay, no
right?
problem.
Yeah, so we'll be maybe making programs, and then you'll get to you'll understand that. And then if any doubts you have, like we don't have any written notes for the Selenium, it's just practical only.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like code I'll be sharing with you, every code, each and every code I'll be sharing with you, but we don't have any written notes for the Selenium.
Sure.
Fine. Yeah. And then so like this is all about the history, and then so as you can see that our major focus will be like in the course is to cover C sharp. As we know that we have to learn C sharp as well in the course, right? And then we will be covering up the WebDriver also, right? WebDriver, which is in most demand in the market. So we'll be taking the WebDriver. We'll be covering up with the WebDriver concepts as well. Fine. And then we will be building the frameworks as well. So we'll be taking up the framework also in the class. As I told you, we'll be making one framework in the class, right? And then we'll also discuss the Jenkins also. Now, you do you know Jenkins? What is Jenkins?
Whatever that. Jenkins.
No?
No.
No, okay, no problem. We'll be taking up the Jenkins also. Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. We'll discuss in the class. We'll discuss, like as of now, you'll not get to know what is Jenkins, and then we'll not go into deep as well. I'll not go into explaining you what Jenkins on the first day only. Just skip over that. Just understand that we'll be taking up the Jenkins as well in the class. Jenkins is also important. Okay. And then yes, we'll have to work with the grid as well. We'll be discussing the grid as well. How do you implement your project on the grid? Okay, that is parallel execution of your test cases, right? So like our major focus will be covering all these topics, and then many more things we'll learn in the class. All right. So like the coming over to C sharp. Now, how do you work with the C sharp? Okay. Like we have to know what is C sharp, why is C sharp required, how do you work with the, what are the basic, like what, how do you work with C sharp, the syntax of the C sharp, right? Now how to actually start with this class? The first and the foremost thing is, now before actually starting with the C sharp, I assume that, do you know the basics of the programming, like if statement, how do you declare a variable, the for loops, arrays?
I know the basic things. Just you can give me high level also, no issue, no problem for me. Just one or two programs like basic thing.
Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, so like in the projects as well, just like the basic only declaration of the variable, then working with the loops, the for loop, while loop. So in that case, that will help you if you know these programming languages, and then no worries if you don't know as well. We'll take in the class as well. Okay, but the basic things like the variable declaration, or you can say the if statement
Okay.
if statement, or the loops, the basic loops, like what are loops we have? For loop, then we have while loop, right? And then the arrays. Okay, no worries, arrays we'll discuss in the class. All right. So like the basics, I assume that you know these basics, right? The variable declaration, the
Yeah.
loops, the if statement. Yeah. So that will help us in the course if you know these concepts. Okay. And fine. Okay, now like since I have some issue with my system today, so I cannot show you the Visual Studio right now. Have you installed Visual Studio on your system? Do you have Visual Studio?
Yeah, I have Visual Studio in that. I have just
Oh, okay. Which version? Which version you have?
like
2015?
yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's good. 2015. Okay. All right. Yes. So like we'll be taking up. I'll show you the Visual Studio as well. We'll be working with the concepts of the concepts of the C sharp. The first program that we will discuss. We'll discuss it tomorrow, since right now there is some issue with my system and I cannot show you. I cannot open up my Visual Studio. It's not opening up right now. Okay, so we'll take up in the tomorrow's class.
Sure, sure,
Okay.
no problem.
um okay, thank you so much. And then, all right, now the starting like the documentation for Selenium. Okay, I'll just show you the documentation of Selenium. For that, you just go to the official website of Selenium, which is seleniumhq.org website. Okay, so you just go to this website, seleniumhq.org. Now, why am I focusing on the OOPS concepts again and again, that you must have the knowledge of the programming skills? It is because I'll just let you know. Now, as if we go to the official website, the first line of the website says, what is Selenium? Selenium automates browser. Okay, so Selenium, it is used for automating the web-based applications. You cannot work with the desktop-based applications if you are working with Selenium. Selenium is only used for the web-based applications. It is only used for automating the web applications. It is not used for automating the desktop-based applications. So that is one point which is there with Selenium. Fine. And then, okay, now if I go to the downloads tab over here, you can see that we have an documentation, the API docs for the C sharp. We just go to this link and the documentation opens up before you. Now, if you carefully look into this documentation, you can see that this documentation, it contains class. We have the class. Then there are interfaces in this documentation, right? Then there is enumeration, class, objects. Okay. So as you can see that if you have to if you want to learn the Selenium, if you want to understand this documentation of Selenium, then you must have the knowledge of these topics. What are interfaces, what are classes, what are objects, right? So because of which I am focusing on the OOPS concepts again and again. So in order to understand this documentation as well, you must have the knowledge of what are interfaces or what is a class and all everything. All right. So this is why I'm focusing on the OOPS concept. So because of that only, I'll be taking up the interface topic. We'll be taking up the interface topic in brief. Then the classes, the objects as well. All right. Um, Fine. And then you can just like down if you want to download the documentation, like we can do that. And then like do to download the Selenium version, you can just go to this download link, and then I'll show you how do you configure the Selenium as well. So we'll not go into Selenium on the first day only. We'll be working. We'll be taking up only the introduction part only. Okay, and then fine. So we've discussed the history of Selenium, why is C sharp important, documentation of Selenium, introduction to C sharp. Okay, that will cover up in the tomorrow's class. In this Visual Studio is not working. Installing Visual Studio. Okay, you are done with the Visual Studio installation, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, so we'll directly start with the program in Visual Studio, basics of C sharp, and then how do you configure the Selenium, how do you download the Selenium DLLs, that in the Visual Studio project that will take up in the tomorrow's class only, since Visual Studio is not working. Fine. So, okay.